ain't teaching taxes in school. It don't even matter, I was acting a fool. But who would think the raps would turn?
What is up, my fellow hip hop heads and music lovers in general? My name is G-Vans and welcome back to my channel where every Thursday I take a look at all the requests that are being submitted by all of you in hopes that I will say some good things about it and in hopes that you guys will get me into some new music. And this is the second upload for today. The second and final review I gotta do today, so let's get right to it. Um, this next album was requested by my very good friend Hassel. You guys have seen him multiple times in all the vlogs. Yes, he is the dude that looks like he's from the 60s or 70s. And the reason why he looks like that is because that is his fucking style. And of course, what better album for him to request than an album by his favorite band of all time, The Doors. And the album is called Waiting for the Sun, which could be considered their best album ever. You know what I mean? Um, you know, the reason why I'm really into like the old school like rock scene is because it's all thanks to Hassel. Back in high school when all these other like new artists are blowing up. Like I think back in high school, Fetty Wap was blowing up. Fucking Post Malone was blowing up. Um, who else? Sam Smith. Just a bunch of like artists of the new school. Country, rock, rap, um, pop. Whatever genre that was popular when I was in high school. All of them were blowing up, and Hassel, he was, stuck in time. Like he got into a lot of artists. Well, I wouldn't want to say that he barely got into back in high school because I'm pretty sure, he his parents like were like really into a lot of that shit. So like that's the reason why he really likes it. But back in high school, he was bumping shit like Led Zeppelin, Queen, the Beatles, Pearl Jam, just all these artists that are considered like a lot more better music than what is being created today. And so yeah, of course he would request Waiting for the Sun by the Doors. He had discovered like I want to say last year that the Doors is now his favorite band of all time. And like it's it's a really good reason why the Doors is his favorite band of all time, because the Doors make really really great music. You know what I mean? It's like think about the most iconic like artists of like the late 60s, 70s, 80s, like all those like old school artists like think think of all those like iconic like old school artists, and like there's always one band that stands out, and that's the Doors. And the reason why the Doors stand out a lot is not because they are like a different kind of bad, but it's like they're different in a very good way, because while everyone was like making like the same sound, I guess you could say, the Doors were experimenting in every different album. You never knew what to expect from the Doors, because they always experiment with new sounds, new things, and they always experiment with a lot of like new shit, and as like every album was different. Every album was like something new, something fun, something that was always catchy, something that always turned out to be a fucking masterpiece. And that's why the Doors, in my opinion, will always go down as like as one of the greatest rock bands of all time. They would definitely change the way rock would be listened to, and they would like pave the way to for a lot of other rock bands that did really well in their prime too. So yeah, this album was is pretty much like the highlight of their career, because although like this is their third studio album, although they had already had like two other like studio albums that did really great, this album would be considered the greatest of all time, because it was like at a time when the Doors were like really really like starting to experiment with like with with new sounds. And although this typical album isn't like your typical like Doors album, you know, it definitely takes you through a fucking journey. You know, considering that it's only 12 tracks long, considering the fact that it's only like about 30 minutes long, it's like it takes you through a fucking journey. You know, first of all, Jim Morrison, you know, who is the lead singer of who was the lead singer of the Doors. You know, for those of you that don't know, Jim Morrison passed away many years ago. Um, and you know, I, I I honestly get like a little bit bummed out thinking about it because you know, like when I listen to Jim Morrison sing it, it's like, you know, this man had a lot of fucking talent. He had great vocals. You know, he had his own style. It's like, you know, like everything about him was so talented and unique. And it's like, you know, we truly lost like a really iconic person. You know, in the music industry. So it's like, Jim Morrison's like voice is just as good as ever in this album. And you know, and as you know, the Doors career like went on, you know, Jim Morrison's voice like kept improving, and it kept being like so iconic, so energetic, so like um so soulful, if that makes sense. You know, just everything about Jim Morrison's voice is like everything that people like think of when they think about, you know, like iconic voices and like iconic talented voices in the rock genre. Um, Also, not to mention, you know, his other um, bandmates, they are, you know, some of the best guitarists, some of the, you know, the best some of the best drummers that I can think of, you know, because they you know, like you can really tell that they like that all they wanted to do was bring nothing but their best work, you know, no matter what they were doing. And it was like, you know, they they never, you know, failed at impressing a lot of people. And you know, I can only imagine that, you know, when the Doors blew up back in the late, was it the 60s? Yeah, back in the late 60s, you know, like I can only imagine that when they blew up, you know, a lot of fans were just wondering and anticipating, and just, you know, just couldn't wait to hear, you know, what else the Doors were going to do next. You know, this album, you know, Jim Morrison talks about a lot of stuff, you know, like, you know, he pays a little bit of a respect to like the hippie culture, because for those of you that don't know, you know, back in the 60s, you know, hippies were like a really popular thing. You know, they're obviously not that popular now because, you know, you don't really see that many hippies around. And if you do, it's a very like rare like style, you know, nowadays. And you know, for those of you that did see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, then you know, you can obviously tell that, you know, hippies were a really big thing. You know, that the hippie culture back then was a really big thing. Um, you know, and Jim Morrison even talks about, you know, some deep shit. You know, he there's one song where he talks about, you know, like the war in Vietnam. You know, like at the time, you know, like Vietnam was still happening, and it's like, you know, it's still considered, you know, like a really iconic and a really like tough um, battle, a really tough war for a lot of people, you know. And you know, like he talks about, you know, he talks about, you know, that war. And you know, he also, you know, he starts to question it pretty much. He starts to question the Vietnam War, you know, like if we're doing the right thing, is it, if it's even, you know, worth it, you know, like, you know, like is this just going to cause a lot more hate and a lot more like wars to happen? You know, it's like, you know, questioning whether or not like going to war is a good thing, and like whether or not, you know, like whether or not we truly like end um wars from happening, you know, after like, you know, we finish a war. You know, are we gonna prevent another one from happening, or is the same thing gonna happen? You know, it's like he really like, you know, makes you think about, you know, his music. And you know, it's just, you know, it's really good music. You know, I guess, you know, that's that's all there is to it. You know, it's really great music. You know, they have, you know, a lot of love songs. And you know, as you guys know, I'm not really that into, love songs that much. But you know, whenever it's a song is a love song from the Doors, and you know what, I'm all into it. You know, I think my favorite song on this album is a song called we could be good together. I think is what the song is called. You know, it's a really really powerful like and beautiful song. Jim Morrison is a fucking great artist, and I guess that's pretty much all I had to say. So, with that being said, thank you guys for watching us. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed my review. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram down below as always. What else should I review next? Let me know in the comments down below. Go ahead and follow the Doors on Instagram down below. Yes, I'm not fucking with you. They actually have an Instagram page. It's verified. I don't know what they do on there, but if you just want to learn more about the Doors and discover more of their music, then please go follow them on Instagram down below. They're a really great band. You're not gonna regret it. And with that being said, that's pretty much it. So don't forget to subscribe and turn on that bell down below so you never miss any video that I put out. And with that being said, that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and don't forget to stay happy.
We could be so